Hello, hello. This is Dr. Traci Harrell, and I could not be more excited about today's session. This is Amplifying Impact with AI. AI for everyone and living powerfully with AI. Now, I had an amazing weekend. As most of you know, if you're in the Seattle area, the weather was extraordinary. I'm sitting here in an area called Broadview, looking out at the water, the sound, the mountains. So, life is good. Um, but what was really exciting was the people that I got to surround myself with this weekend. So many of you know that I'm part of the African American Writers Alliance. And what is super exciting about that is we've had some live conversations about a tool called Marbleism that I am introducing to that organization. I'm actually having conversations that are much more strategic. I'm not working with, individuals per se. I'm talking about like how do we impact communities. So I'm talking to the individuals that are leading the organization, their leadership team, and I got to spend some quality time with Dr. Georgia McDade. She's actually one of my favorite people in the Pacific Northwest. She's the one that I went to see the lilies with. I'm sorry, the tulips. She's gonna love that. I keep calling them lilies, but there's a tulip festival that happens here in Seattle. And we both are the type, as we're driving down the street, we're both the type who look around and say things like, what a beautiful tree, right? Like, what beautiful blossoms. You know what I mean? Like, we're the type who, we are stop and smell the roses type people, right? And I say that for a couple of reasons. It's so important that no matter what happens in life, that we are in a position to take full responsibility for the gifts that we have. And sometimes it's just the ability to pause. She's a giver, she's a doer, right? She takes action in probably more ways than she should, meaning she does a lot for a lot of people. And so when I do things for her, it's like, it's a beautiful thing. I feel like I'm contributing to a woman who was one of the charter members of the African American Writers Alliance. This group is celebrating 35 years in existence. And what I love about that is I'm a part of a number of organizations that have been around for decades. The ones that are going to be around for decades more are the ones that are willing to have conversations about the future, right? The ones that are going to continue to shape lives in the future are the ones that are willing to have conversations about what is the future going to look like, right, for them and for others. So for me, it was amazing. So, and I say that to say she reminded me that the African American Writers Alliance, they are pulling together their ninth anthology. An anthology is a book where multiple authors come together focused on the same topic or the same theme. And the theme for this anthology is the N-word, or inward, not the N-word, but inward, I-N, and then W-O-R-D. So inward. And what I love about that are a couple of things, right? So this idea that what happens on the inside, at least that's my theme, that's my take on the theme. Some people are going to go to different places, let me just say that. But I'm talking about the inward conversation, right, that we each need to have, first of all, with ourselves, about our responsibility, our accountability in the moment, in the time that we are now. The times that we're in now, the thing that I've written to share with you today, the first part of it is talking about a moment of consequence. And if you think about it, every moment, right, that you're making a decision that will influence your future, that is a moment of consequence, because our future is simply made up of decisions. I like to say decisions determine our future, like decisions determine your destiny. So it's like moment by moment. If you're trying to lose weight and you're choosing ice cream, guess what? You're probably not going to be as successful, right? So our decisions determine our destiny. Who we associate with, that is huge, right? And also when someone does something wrong to you, horrible to you, how you show up in that moment also matters. I've been dealing with the little thing, which I'll probably talk about on another show, right? Because all these, as a community, we get to show up and we get to decide how we show up, right? What responsibility do we have in community, to protect other people, you know what I mean? To protect the future from things that you've experienced. It's like if no one tells you, how are you going to know? And I was having this conversation about, something, and the most proudest moment that I have, something negative that happened to me that, that could have led me to some negative feelings. Instead, I decided to choose joy, choose peace. And I think these are the decisions that matter, people. So I know that was a lot. That's a lot. I'm still trying to decide. I'm still connecting with community leaders. And, I've heard a lot of people say, even people that I love and respect that are very active have said, we are not our brother's keeper in that way. I was like, well, what do you mean? So I show up here every Monday because I feel like I'm part of community. Like I do this for you, right? I do this for community. This is my contribution. The next book that I'm writing is like every time I show up here, that is content that I'm building and incorporating into something that's going to be super powerful. So I say all that to say, again, I am here to do two things with you and for you. So the first thing is I have again, if this is a moment of consequence, let me see if I can add this to the StreamYard. I may have to have my producer do it, but I will do my very best. I will do my very best. Oh, there it is. Okay, let's see. So I have a PDF that I'm adding to this visual. I may have to have my producer share the slides with you. But while he's doing that, what I'm going to talk to you about is where we are right now, where we are as a community right now. And again, this, I guess it's really a question. Do you recognize where we are? We're living through one of the most consequential and most powerful moments in history, right? So never before have there been more forces of transformation converging at once. So the decisions, that's why I started with the word decisions, the decisions that are being made today will influence how we work collectively as a people, as humanity. What's happening today with AI and with technology, it will change how we work, how we live, how we communicate, how we learn, how we lead, how we create, and really even how we connect for generations to come. And so when I think about the consequence of this moment, it really does make me pause. I do see the presentation. It's not allowing me to add it in. I'm hoping my producer is still there and, well, voila, right? So this is a moment of consequence, right? This is where we are right now. So my question to each of you is, are you paying attention? Do you see what's actually happening around us, around you, around each of us, right? This moment is absolutely transformational. We're living through, again, it's one of the most consequential moments. It will impact us for generations to come. So if you're paying attention, praise God. I just want to ask this other question. Do you recognize the responsibility and the privilege of being alive right now? I don't know why I like to do that. Like, are you hearing me? Do you recognize, I put my hair in a ponytail, kind of. Do you recognize the responsibility and the privilege of being alive right now? That's the question. There's a huge weight, in this moment, a huge weight. And so let me see if I can get here and make this work for us. Okay, here we go. So there's a huge weight, right, of this moment, or just being alive in this moment. There's a weight that's historical. When I say there's we have the honor of being alive now, but historically, technologically, socially, and even just humanely, like as human beings, our responsibility, our existential, presence, it matters, right? Economically, morally, it's never been greater. So when I think about historically, I'll go to this first box here. It says civilizations are shaped by the choices of those who lived through a turning point. How many of you know right now this is a turning point? And like I said, I will die on this sword, lovingly die on this sword. Meaning there are problems and there are possibilities, right? There are so many problems with AI, which is why I'm like, guys, we have to be asking those questions that the people who are like, I hate AI. I can't be at one extreme or the other. I'm a Libra, so I got to have a little bit of balance, right? So, but there are huge problems. My next book is like, here's the top 10 problems. But here I'm going to use AI to help us solve them, to help each of us decide how we can make decisions. Hear me now. How we can make decisions to be a part of the solution. That's huge. So again, we're living through a huge turning point. That's historically. People will look back at this moment and be like, well, you know, X, Y, this is what happened then. So technologically, so many transformative tools are, you know, rewriting what is possible. That's the positive side. But these same tools are actually rewriting what's at risk. And there's so many risks as well. So I think technologically, we have to look at both sides of the coin or the equation, right? I can keep talking, but I'm gonna move on. Socially, how we connect and communicate with each other, how we coexist, it's being redefined as we speak. How many people have been on a meeting and you got some type of AI taking notes, right? How many have been on a meeting, you know, and people's replies to, here's a recap from the meeting, right? Hopefully human eyes are on that too, right? But we got to make sure we are engaging in this conversation. Again, I mentioned the responsibility is huge, so I need for y'all to understand the weight of this moment. The weight of this moment is it's undeniable. But I always have something positive to share. We have the gift of choice. The weight of this moment is huge. Absolutely. I just said, hey, do you recognize the responsibility and the privilege of being alive right now? Well, guess one of the privileges is we all have the gift of choice. Do you hear me? The future is being shaped right now in real time. And each and every one of us, we've been given a gift, right? We've been given I said decisions determine your destiny. So don't just coast. You know, I do coast when it comes to political things, I do have to admit. Like I don't pay attention to all the news and the stuff that people get riled up about. I can't. So this just happens to be my thing. This is the one that I'm gonna choose, you know, to activate on. I don't activate on. I'm not marching in the streets. I'm not in the No Kings rally, even though obviously we don't want any kings, right? It's just not my thing. It's just not where I want to put my energy. This is where I want to put my energy. So this is my invitation to each of you. When you think about the choice that we have, the choices are everything. And there's really 4 primary choices that are before us, right? We got options, right? We can participate. This is my invitation. Let me go. I'm gonna go through all 4 and then I'm gonna come back. Okay? I'm asking you. This is the call to action. And actually, the reason this is so important, and the reason I mentioned Georgia earlier, is because they were talking about this. Again, the AWA, the African American Writers Alliance, and they're celebrating 35 years in existence. And you know, for people who know, you know, the how our voices have been shut down when they started, you know what I'm saying? I would say we had some challenges, even greater ones than we do today, as it relates to, you know, voice. But when I spoke to Georgia, it just reminded me how important it is for us to activate. And so you got 4 choices: to participate, to create, to lead, and to shape. That's the invitation. So when she mentioned today's the last day for us to submit a chapter in their 35th annual, their anthology, this one that's called Inward, N-I-N, with N in parentheses, word. And they're giving people the opportunity to kind of interpret that however you want, the N word. I decided to interpret it a number of different ways, but partially the inward, like what's internal to us, right? We get to choose, right, our words if we're going to activate. And it's also my little essay is a call to action for people to do these 4 things. So it's a spoiler alert, just so you know. My next book will include these 4 things as well, right? Inviting you to participate, to create, to lead, and to shape. But I'm also going to give you very clear instructions on what that looks like. So that's important too. I'm also going to talk about the 10 top challenges that people are talking about. And people are like, I don't know, all I know is it's costing too much water. That too, that's one of the issues with AI. Like, don't use AI because it takes too much water to cool the data centers. Yes, and that's not the only issue, right? There are 10 major issues that we're gonna not only talk about, address, but we're also gonna kind of reframe them a little bit. What can we do about those issues? They're here. This is a blockbuster moment, guys. Netflix is here. Blockbusters are out of, come on now. We gotta show up. So sorry, let me stay focused. I get a little excited. Okay. I'm sitting here with the sun in my face. It feels so good. Like I said, I'm looking out at the water. I'm blessed. I'm grateful. But, we have 4 choices before us: to participate or to observe. I do have to admit, politically, I vote for sure, but I'm not going up and down on this, spiral of shenanigans, right? Politically, I will activate when I need to. I definitely vote locally and nationally and all the things, but it's really important for me to be in a position where I can do what I can do and then keep it moving. So the choice here for us is to participate or to observe. The second choice is to create. That's why I show up and I create content. Just being here every Monday at 6:00 is like I'm creating, right? I am putting the gifts that I have, the gifts and the knowledge that I have, and I am gifted. I'm brilliant. Let me just be clear. I haven't even started really promoting what I do from a business perspective. I am now. I'm actually going to be working with nonprofits and all that kind of stuff. But I just feel like there's a greater responsibility. Like I talked about Marbleism. I'm an affiliate for Marbleism, but I feel like there's so much more people need from us. So in order for me to come with the highest level of credibility, I need to address some of the bigger elephants in the room. And here's Marbleism, and I'm helping individuals with it, and I'll come and do more detail with it. But it's like, let's also talk about, the heat, because I get a lot of heat from people related to AI, and I hear them talking about the heat that they're getting. So I got to provide information so people can participate intelligently, so that they can create, right, conversations, right, and not just consume information from other people because they think they know better. No, here's the facts, right? So my next book is called Amplifying Impact with AI, right? The fears, the facts, and the future. That was the topic I did recently. I'm having some more subtext to it, but that's the basic bottom line of it. Okay, so we also can lead or we can follow. That's another choice. That's a huge choice. So when I talk about top 10 issues, challenges with AI, we can lead or we can follow as it relates to those topics, right? We can also shape the future or leave it to others. Now, if the people who are whose values don't align with yours are shaping the future and you leave it to them, that means the future is not going to look like we would hope. So I have to hope that we will choose well, that we would choose to participate, to create, to lead, and to shape. And our choices matter hugely because it's this moment that matters. What did I say at the beginning of this was? It's a moment of consequence. It's a huge moment of consequence. So your choices will matter. I know. So what I love about this is super simple, right? This is more than an invitation. It's an activation. It's a call to live with greater purpose, right? It's a call to lead with greater intention. It is a call and an opportunity to contribute in ways that create meaningful impacts. And yes, the next time I show this slide, it will be bigger. The font will be bigger. I can't adjust anymore. I used to be able to make things bigger in the moment, but we'll keep moving. Okay. Legacy. Let's talk about legacy, y'all. Let's talk about, this is one of my favorite words, as you know. I talk about legacy a lot. And what legacy is versus what it isn't. Legacy is active, right? The word legacy is about those decisions that we make, right? Legacy is not something that we leave at the end of our lives, right? Legacy is what we create through the choices we make every day. Did I or did I not say decisions determine our destiny? What I didn't say is our decisions determine the destiny also of those that we leave behind the next generation. Like our decisions impact others. So if legacy is active, this is a call to activate and to shape a future worthy of our highest values. Right? This is a call to shape a future that's worthy of our deepest purpose. Do you know even why you were put on this earth? I do, to amplify impact. That's why I literally said, let me just reshape my focus and focus on that. Let me reshape the name of my business. Let me just laser focus on amplifying impact. And it is with AI, but I say amplifying impact, again, is about amplifying your, again, I don't have to repeat myself, imagination, your intent, your intuition. Right? It's about you first, being clear. What is your purpose? What are your values? What is your greatest potential? Have those real conversations. I spent decades working, going through these processes of becoming a certified transformational coach. And I put that in air quotes. I don't know why, but because I have multiple certifications. Right? I have 2 master's levels degrees. I have an honorary doctorate. It's a professional doctorate. And I have a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award and, focus on my service, my contributions. So when I say I'm showing up, and I've been showing up, and I will continue to show up, I will, but it's not because of any of the documents, right, or the accreditations, or it's because I know that our Maker put us on this earth to be a part of something bigger than us. Remember, my business is called It's All Bigger Than Me Ministry. It's a ministry of the mind, right? How do we show up with excellence, right? And my consulting business is actually under my ministry, because when I show up, I'm not showing up with my consulting, right? My solely with my consulting hat on, or with my consulting prices that I would be charging in corporate, right? I show up in community offering people gifts and content because I know legacy is active. Legacy is about what we do. So I'm making sure that my contributions are available in community. Okay, I'll keep moving. Now, this is one of my favorite statements about AI. One of my favorite things that I like to talk about. The chapter 1 of the book that I'm writing is like, both things can be true. Both things can be true. This is a little preview, right? We are living in a time of extraordinary possibility, right? No one would doubt that. But we're also living in a time of profound uncertainty simultaneously, right? So when I say we're going to talk about AI, the problems and the promise, both things can be true. It can be problematic. I'm not saying that it's not. Let's talk about that. But there's also a promise. So I don't want you to miss the promise because of the problems. Both things can be true, and you can still benefit responsibly. Use AI responsibly and engage so that you're a part of the solution. You're not just letting other people, multimillionaires, go decide how we're going to use AI. No, we need us. We need the people on the ground to be the ones saying, hey, I'm concerned about AI because of these environmental impacts and because of that. So those voices matter. But we also can't be left behind, blockbuster style, with a pocket full of VHS discs or DVDs, hoping that people aren't going to use Netflix and Hulu. Maybe, come on now, people. I'm just saying, both things can be true simultaneously. So part of the work and part of my purpose is to help you understand the duality, right? Where there's meaningful leadership begins with this concept of duality. Both things can be true. So when we have an AI conversation, right, it's really, really important that we think about AI, the two sides of the coin, right? Artificial intelligence has become one of the most discussed technologies in modern history. And the reactions are deeply divided, right? The heads and the tails. We got the flip side of the same coin. I like the reflection. It's the same coin. It's not even the other side. It's the same coin, and it's just the reflection of it, right? Some people see opportunity. They see innovation. They see hope. Woo-wee. Now my small business can go off and do these wonderful things in ways that only large organizations could, right? I can leverage my data. I can do this. I can do, like, there's all kind of automations. Yes, that is true. But others see a major disruption. They see loss of jobs. They see risk. Why is she using AI? Is she trying to take my job? Your job may absolutely go away if it can be automated, and it's okay. right? That's when you pivot. So disruption is absolutely going to happen, which is why we want to prepare our community. So again, not through fear. The risk is here for sure. But there's also opportunity and there's hope. So we really got to see. I love these reflections, right? Do you love that? So the AI conversation is the same coin. It's not even the opposite side of the same. It's the same side of the same coin. You're just looking at it differently. Does that make sense? I love that. I'm sorry. The sun is literally blinding me, but it's either that or I'm sitting in the dark. So we're working it out. Okay. I guess I have to go on break real quick, and then we're going to come back because what we know to be true is that both things can be true. So stay with us. This is Dr. Traci Harrell on Rainier Avenue Radio. I love me some community radio, y'all. We'll be right back with more Amplifying Impact with AI.
Your community radio station will provide you with more information. Rainier Avenue Radio.
Are you in need of new or gently used clothing? Hope's Community Closet is here to help. We offer a wide range of clothing for men, women, youth, children, and infants. Join us on the fourth Saturday of each month from 12:30 to 4 at the Silent Task Force. We're giving clothing with care, community with heart. Lovely Ladies Lemonade for sale, and shop to the sound of old school soul. Any questions? Contact Alicia Kennedy, Executive Director of Women United at 206-316-7601. 206-316-7601. Come and find the perfect outfit for you and your family. We look forward to seeing you there.
Women Empowerment Talk Radio, your community connection to business success. Tune in weekly to Rainier Avenue Radio.world. Listen and learn from local and national guest speakers, providing resources and knowledge for the everyday business owner. Women Empowerment Talk Radio, weekly on Rainier Avenue Radio.world.
Atlantic Street Center has been serving the children, youth, and families of the Seattle-King County area since 1910. We partner with families and communities to raise healthy, successful children and youth through services including counseling, early learning, youth development, domestic violence, and education support for school-aged children. Committed to serving the African-American community, Atlantic Street Center provides services and support for all marginalized people. Learn more at AtlanticStreetCenter.org.
Join us this Tuesday on Real Estate and Money, brought to you by Rainier Avenue World. Tuesday at 2:30 in Seattle or in Denver at 3:30. Join our hosts, Violetta Strash and Tina Lombard, as we bring to you all things current real estate and money.
Applications are now open for the home repair program, offering up to $10,000 in free home repairs for income-eligible households. Priority is given to neighborhoods at risk of displacement. This program is made possible through a partnership between Rebuilding Together Seattle and the Central Area Collaborative, helping expand eligibility and reach more families. Don't wait. Take the first step today. To learn more, email outreach at nhconsultants.com or call 206-373-1022. That's outreach at nhconsultants.com or 206-373-1022.
Would you like to see when your favorite Rainier Avenue Radio show comes on? Check out our show schedule, updated weekly at RainierAvenueRadio.world.
Hey, y'all. This is Dr. Traci Harrell, and we're back with more Amplifying Impact with AI. What I'm super excited to talk about today, again, we've been talking about responsibility, obligation, and I'm going to have my producer put the slides back up because what we said in our last moment before the break was both things can be true. Both things. So when you say what things, again, this conversation around AI, right? Some people see opportunity, right? Some people see innovation and hope and the possibilities. I see that. but I also see the disruption and the risk and the fear. I see that too. See, you got a Libra on your hands. We like a little balance. Like both things are true, right? And so I think having a realistic conversation, this is why I think it's so important that I show up in my full purpose. And this is my purpose, like to help people to amplify their impact. That's why I call the show Amplifying Impact. That's the work that I do, is help businesses and leaders to amplify their impact, because both things can be true. There are things to be afraid of. There are absolutely challenges. So when I talk about the fears, the facts, and the future, those are the three elements that are so important. Both things can be true: possibility and problems, right? So that duality of AI, it's so important, right? So if some see one thing and some see the other, and I'm saying both things can be true, that means, there's that opportunity is there, but there's also the disruption, right? So AI will open huge doors. It will simultaneously close many, many doors as well. The expectation from all aspects, economically, et cetera, when people talk about losing jobs, millions of jobs will change, right? Will be closed. Those doors will close. But there's the hope and expectation that we're going to be leaning into some other jobs, some other types of roles, which is why we can't lean out to AI, because it's going to shape what our future looks like. That's why I'm saying the duality of AI is here. It's the opportunity, but it's also the disruption, right? Doors will open and doors will close. We're going to talk about that. Like I said, my next book, this is a chapter. I'm putting all this kind of content in the next AWA anthology, right? This consequence. It's a call to action. But my next book has all this stuff in it as well, because I just think it's so important that we give people real content. And I'll be sorting, I'll be documenting sources, so don't take my word for it, right? Like here's all the facts from a balance, right? The duality. So opportunity and disruption. There's going to be efficiency, huge productivity gains. That's really what I'm focused on with my business. We just can't lose out on that. As small business owners, we can't lose out on the productivity gains, right? But there will also be, additional inequality, because some people are going to be like, I'm not interested in that. Oh, Lord, I hope it's not my people, right? And the inequalities that currently exist can be exacerbated. We don't want that either. We don't want those. We don't want to amplify the inequality. We want to amplify the impact that we want to make in community. So there will be efficiency and there will be inequality. Let's talk about connection and disconnection, right? So AI will strengthen human bonds in a number of different ways. Think about what you're going to be able to do, how you're going to be able to explore opportunities. So it will strengthen them, but it will also disconnect them in certain ways. I'm already, disconnected from my email in a number of different ways, right? I love it when my AI goes in and helps me, because otherwise, I would have emails that I didn't even touch. Right. So now it doesn't send emails for me, but it does, start the conversation and make it super easy for me to connect. So to me, it does a little bit about it's allowing me to respond to you, because I probably wouldn't even have seen it if my AI hadn't said, oh, by the way, this thing came up. Oh, great. And it's already written a draft. I got to edit it and press send in seconds versus taking it all in. Come on now. You got to see both sides of it. Okay. The other thing is support and challenge. Right. So AI is going to uplift humanity in a number of different ways, but it will simultaneously, right, challenge, what it means to just be human, to be, original, to create, right? All these things can be true. That duality is true. Now, what I love about this, and again, I don't try to have conversations that don't matter, but this matters a lot, because again, I'm not talking about the technology wholeheartedly at the moment, because so many people have expressed, negative energy, right, around AI. And too many people, I think, feel pressured to choose a side, right, to be either completely for AI or to be completely against AI, to see only the promise or only the problems. And I'm saying both things can be true. Say it with me, y'all. Both things can be true. Okay, so the conversation matters, because right now, again, it's a moment of consequence. We've never had this type of opportunity before, and meaningful leadership. You're all leaders, right? It rarely happens at either extreme, right? It's not far right or far left, as they say. It's not like I never say I'm not red or blue, the party of red or the party of blue. I'm the party of purple. Let's figure out what's in the middle. Like what's really true is that purple space, right? The party of purple, right? So it happens in the space. Leadership happens in the space between two words, y'all. It's between certainty and curiosity, right? We know certain things. Other things, there's uncertainty around them. Let's use a different word for that. Let's call that word curiosity. Let's ask questions, right? So when I asked questions about the top 10 issues, the top 10 challenges, it was so good. It was like, it made me go off and do a whole lot of research, right? So the conversation matters because a lot of people are choosing sides, and leadership, I will just repeat this, leadership occurs in the space in between the two extremes, right? When we're willing to hold complexity, you got to hold on to that complexity just a little bit longer, long enough to listen to both sides, right? Long enough to ask better questions. Hello. Stay engaged long enough to truly understand what is happening beneath the surface. This is not a surface level conversation, right? It's much more complex than that. It's much more nuanced than that. Are you with me? Leadership occurs between the space of certainty, when we're super clear, right? And I'm not going to say uncertainty. I'm going to say curiosity. We have the opportunity. It could be certainty and uncertainty, right? Because a lot of things are uncertain. But I'm asking you to lean in with curiosity, right? That's where true leaders lead with excellence, right? And so when I think about, again, I started this conversation with the book, the anthology that AWA, the African American Writers Alliance, that they're doing, and this is part of my story in that book, right? But it's also part of my book. I decided to turn my book into a essay for them because right. And the book, their book is called In Words, and that's what it's about for me. In many ways, In Words is, it's about the leadership, right, that resists easy answers and embraces what we call the nuance, right? The nuance, right? So my approach. So I'm not just telling people what to do and why it's, why the duality, understanding the duality and embracing that duality is important. I'm being very clear. The inwards, right, is having an internal conversation, right? But there's also an approach to connecting with others, right? It's about holding that tension. It's okay to recognize the duality without collapsing either side. You know what I mean? Like, why do we gotta fight? Can't we all just get along? You're like, I know, right? Hold the tension. It's okay for us to kind of disagree. I just realized that I was trying to figure out what I was going to do with the situation. I'm like, we don't have to agree. Let's get a mediator in here and let's hold that tension just for a minute, right? It's okay. Hold that tension. Recognize the duality without collapsing into either side. You're not right and you're not right. What if they're both right? You guys seen that image where there's a 6 and a 9 and one person standing on this side and one person standing on this side? They see a 6, right? This person sees a 6 because he's on that side of it. This person sees a 9 because he's on that side of it. Well, both things are true. Nobody's wrong. So let's really look inward, right? And then use our words in a loving way that allows us to embrace the nuance, right? Sitting in this complexity long enough to find the wisdom beneath the surface. Guys, the wisdom that's beneath the surface. So meaning look at that other person and be like, oh, hold on. What if you walked over there and were like, oh my God. When I say I'm back to the 6 and 9, I'll have to put that image in here. But imagine a 6, right? I'm drawing a 6 in there. And a human, there's a beautiful image. Human on this side, a human on this side of a big 6 is drawn in the sand, for example, on the beach. Well, if someone's on this side of the 6, they're going to see a 6. If they're on this side of the 6, they're going to see a 9, and they're both right. So embracing the nuance, right? Sitting in that complexity long enough. Don't fight about it. You're both right. What if you go over there? Oh, what if you go over there? Oh, okay. Both things can be true. So it's really an inward conversation. So when we're in the word words, you got to have that internal conversation first, meaning I'm willing to hold the tension, which a lot of us haven't been trained to do, right? I'm willing to embrace the nuance, and I want to have this internal conversation first before I go off into the world, because you know how you respond when someone mentions anything about AI. You're either in it or not in it, and maybe you're feeling some kind of way because you haven't chosen a position and you think you're behind. Not true, right? the internal conversation is really about pausing before reacting, thinking before speaking, using your words in a way that allows you to, again, hold the tension and to embrace the nuance. I do love this. I love having this conversation. So I think it's like a solution. Sorry, this isn't bigger, but it's super simple. In words is about having an internal conversation first, and then using our words to be a part of the solution. Hello. So I'm going to move to the next slide. Right, that's what that says there. But this is how we think shapes the future. So I'm really showing up here. I call this the ministry of the mind, right? It's all bigger than me ministry. It's not about me. It's about us showing up differently, right? So how we think actually shapes the future, shapes our future. So think about how we think and how we lead, how we serve. All those things matter, especially in a time of rapid change. So many things change. Our words matter now more than ever. How we show up matters. Even when someone has done you harm, showing up with a heart to serve still, that's probably my greatest accomplishment of 2025. 2026 too. Half of 2026. It's like, you know what? I'm choosing joy. Like I have a Jedi superpower now, right? Not that that's how you want to earn a superpower, but it's a beautiful thing. Choosing how we show up matters. So when someone's having a conversation about AI or any topic that you're like on one side or the other, pause. Embrace the fact that, you know what, 10% of that, what that person is saying might be true. 10%. Just open yourself up to the possibility. So how we think, how we lead, how we serve, that's going to impact the future. So if how we show up matters, and we know that it does, then how we engage with other people matter. I need to have softer conversations. I was watching a conversation recently about AI, and I know a lot about AI, right? And I just sat there silently because I was watching how people were observing, and I'm like, they're pretty intense around one side or the other. And I brought in some topics and eased my way in and, asked for, the opportunity to reshape how we think about this, the opportunity. What if both things are true? Right? Little information. So that's one thing that you could do is ask some simple questions. What if both things are true? All right? So how we think, how we lead, how we serve, that is going to shape the future. And I'm asking each of you to be a part of the future. Now, again, the question is, do we choose fear or do we choose possibilities? Again, both things can be true. Do you like that? Whether we lead with fear or possibility, whether we lead with division or some type of understanding, right? Reaction or intention, that will influence not only the impact that we create, but the future that we're helping to shape. Does that make sense? So if we lead with fear, we're creating a future of division, of reaction, of paralysis. I don't know what to do now, right? I'm diminished impact. I'm all about amplifying impact, which is why I have to lead with the possibility, right? I choose to lead with understanding, and I'm asking you to do the same, right? To lead with intention. Like I said, my intention is to help amplify impact and to have easier, softer conversations that create space for both things to be true. There are problems with AI, but there's also possibilities. Both things can be true. It's okay, right? Engagement, to engage with others who think differently. I love that. Let's have a conversation, please, by all means, right? But let's really focus on meaningful impact. Come on now. This is a call to action. I love it. So you guys remember when I was in Jamaica, I took a leadership retreat with Sabrina Jackson Gandy. I had a bunch of ladies. We went to Jamaica. And then the storm of the century, literally the hurricane, came. And we were trapped and couldn't leave. And I mentioned these 3 G's, the 3 G's of leadership, grace, gratitude, and giving. It was during a hurricane. I said, this is how leadership shows up in excellence, right? In the middle of a hurricane, in the middle of change, right? All kind of things. So that's the same thing applies to this AI conversation. Again, I've seen some heated conversations. People are like, Even children are telling their parents, like, they don't know. You don't understand how much water and the technology. All true. Yes, and. You guys heard that? Yes, and when you're having a conversation with someone, you're not saying that's not true. You're saying yes, that is. There's some truth in that, and right? So you're inviting them into another conversation. So this concept of grace, when I say leadership requires grace, leadership in the area of AI requires grace, right? People need to feel heard. So engaging with others and ourselves with patience and with generosity, right? Hearing them, taking the time to listen. Seek first to understand, then to be understood, right? So that 6 is there and that 9 is there. There must be some reason why he thinks the 6 is the 6 if you're the 9 person. Let me go over there and see. Oh, I see. Oh, let me go over here. The 6 person goes to the 9 side. Oh, I see grace. Creating the possibility that, right, a little patience, a little generosity. I didn't have to walk to the other side of the beach, but I did because I wanted to understand, right? So that concept of grace and then gratitude, recognizing the privilege. Didn't I start our conversation today with this idea of privilege, of living through such a transformative time, right? This is a consequential moment in history. So our decisions matter. So recognizing the privilege of it just being alive today is huge. There's some gratitude there, right? So it's crazy, cray. Lots of things are happening, but there's also a privilege. Remember, decisions determine your destiny. So decide how you're going to show up. How are people going to experience you? And then giving. This is about contributing in ways that create meaningful impact for others. That's why I show up here every week, right? This is stuff that people pay me to do keynote presentations on. I'm like, yes, and I'm gonna give it to free to community because it matters, right? I need for us to be able to have intelligent and nuanced conversations. So this idea of wisdom, when you're leading through grace, gratitude, and giving of yourself, this inward, this internal conversation, and then using your words. That's the gift, that's the giving. And the wisdom is recognizing that today's conversation determine tomorrow's possibilities. That's the wisdom. So I need to pause. That's why I started the way I started today, to say, hey, guess what? There's a huge responsibility just to be alive today. Because today's conversations will determine tomorrow's possibilities. So when people are asking questions about the problems with AI, you better be in the conversation and helping to amplify. Yeah, I really want to know what we're doing differently to save the environment, right? So, but you got to be in the conversation to win. My grandmother used to say, you got to be in it to win it. You got to be in it to win it. Leadership does require grace. Okay, this slide again has one specific purpose. And again, I've already said it, so I'll just say it again. The conversations that we have today will help determine the possibilities that we create tomorrow, So discernment is really a leadership skill. When I talk about the ability to pause, and I just gave you very specific steps, right, this approach, discernment is a leadership skill. In times of rapid change and in times of transformation, there's a book that I read from IBM when I was at IBM. I'm gonna date myself. Was that 1992? Help me, Jesus. My first job out of college was with IBM, and they were moving from big blue to a whole new shade of blue. That was kind of like thematically. People used to know IBM as big blue, but then they were focusing on, moving from the technology side, the big computers, to really focusing on solutions. They wanted to be known as, solution providers, right? So this idea of rapid change and transformation. There was a book called Who Moved My Cheese? And it was about a mouse whose cheese was moved, right? And really how to manage, leadership, right? In times of rapid change and transformation. So discernment, being able to discern the right way to show up, the right way to engage with others, the things I just talked about, this might be one of the most important leadership skills that we can develop today. Discernment, right? It's a leadership skill that truly matters. Now, again, we're not focusing on fear or blind optimism. It's not either. It's neither, right? Although there are legitimate reasons for concern, fear alone is not a strategy, right? Blind optimism, AI is going to fix the world. Nope, that's not true either, right? There's much to be optimistic about, but optimism without awareness, it's just naive. So this conversation that I'm inviting you to have is really about strategic awareness. It's about that duality of recognizing that both promise and problems exist, right? And you just still remain engaged. You can, right? It's the lean in. This is an invitation for you to lean in and to lean all the way in, right? So strategic awareness, by definition, of course, most people have heard that term. They think it's a corporate term. It's not. If you're a small business owner, whoever you are, it's about recognizing both the promise and the problems of any situation, the opportunities and the challenge, while remaining engaged enough to help shape what comes next. Hello, that's my invitation to you. Remain engaged enough to help shape what comes next. So this might be my last slide. I'm looking at the clock. Tell me how much time I have, Mr. Producer Dude. But this goal of leadership is about recognizing where we are, understanding the forces that are converging in the moment. Again, hugely consequential. But then understand what is at stake. That's really why I'm showing up here, right? What is being decided and what hangs in the balance? All the things. And then you get to choose how you're going to participate. Actively decide how you will help shape what comes next. That's really what this is. It's an invitation to help shape what comes next. That's the leadership opportunity. So living our legacy right now in real time is what we are all doing. We're living our legacy now. The goal is activation. It's about living it in real time through the choices that we make every day. I'm not saying you need to be an AI expert. I'm saying be willing to have this conversation about these 5 qualities of a leader, right? The consistency, right? Legacy leadership, right, is about being consistent. I show up here every week, right? It's about urgency. Hey, y'all, now is a consequential moment in time, right? It's about responsibility. It ain't me. I'm not going to do this. This is a we conversation. We all have to be willing to lean in and see the duality. The purpose, right? My purpose, your purpose, collectively, we got this thing covered. And then the concept of intention, right? Having a clear intention. These are not abstract ideals. These are daily practices. This is how you build legacy leadership, right? And it's created. Remember what I said in the beginning, decisions determine your destiny. Think about these words, right? Are people seeing you show up consistently? Are you saying one thing and doing something different, right? The future is being shaped right now. Hello, the future is being shaped right now. It's about our decisions, right? It's about how we're going to show up. So participation in theory is a choice. In theory, it's a choice, but I'm hoping that if you observe, then someone else is shaping the future. If you participate, then you get to bring your perspective, your values, your purpose, your potential to the decisions that matter most to you. So your engagement really isn't optional. Let me just say that again. Participation is a choice, but your engagement really should not be optional. So join us here next week as we continue to have this conversation, right? This real conversation about next steps. So this inward conversation, again, I started this conversation talking about Dr. McDade and the African American Writers Alliance. Their next book is called Inward, I-N, within in parentheses, W-O-R-D. So this inward conversation is for you to do. These are call to actions. Before you can lead others through complexity, through uncertainty, right, we must be willing to lead ourselves. So the inward conversation is pausing before reacting, creating space between the stimulus, somebody saying something that's going to get on your last nerve, and then the response. That's really important, right? Holding the complexity, being willing to hold that new, be willing to embrace a nuanced conversation where both sides could be true to some extent. And then ask better questions. Curiosity is a leadership superpower, especially in uncertain times. People that are asking questions about AI, how are y'all going to let this do this and do that? Don't let it happen. Right? This is the invitation for you to be a part of the solution. So our words are the leadership tools. So in words, right? Our words is really how we change things. So in a time of rapid change, words matter. The language we choose internally and externally, it matters. How we perceive challenges matters. How we engage with others lovingly or with some, they're wrong and I'm right, that matters. That is not how we lead. That is not what AI needs. That is not what our future needs. So how we contribute to solutions, and that's really what I'm asking you all to do today, is to contribute to solutions. So again, you got a reactive mode, you got an intentional mode. I'll move past that. This is the promise of this moment. Let me just stay with you here, right? So this is the promise of this moment. Unprecedented innovation is happening. Our collective intelligence, the more minds and the more voices, the more perspectives that are engaged, we can solve all the problems that we have with AI. But then this is a generational possibility. The choices that we make today will determine the world that is inherited by future generations. Y'all, this is a big deal. We can't ignore some of the big problems, absolutely, but we got to be able to hold both truths, right? We can't ignore the problems. Inequality exists. There's all kind of things, a loss of agency and connect, that all exists. But we got to be able to hold both truths, right? Both things can be true. So this is truly my activation, is just to hold both truths, the problems and the promise of AI. And then join us here every week, because we're going to keep doing this work, y'all. I know my time is up, but there's more to come. We're going to hold both truths, the promise and the possibilities. So join us here next week. Oh my God, is my favorite show happening next? I just need to know. Rainier Avenue Radio is back in the community again this June 18th and will broadcast live from the Atlantic Street Center's annual Juneteenth celebration. Y'all, more details to come. And one more announcement: make more community broadcasts like this possible by helping to support community radio right here on Rainier Avenue Radio. You can go to Venmo and donate at Rainier Avenue Radio, or online at rainieravenueradio.world/donate. And we thank you for making this community broadcast possible. And now I think my favorite show is coming up next. Lidline Sports, are they coming up? Yay! Lidline Sports, hosted by Pepe Otis and Michael Carter. Stay here and please join me next week as we continue these conversations around AI. Thanks. Bye.